asked you on a YouTube community page survey, which tank would you like me to break down? And I asked about the major tanks, the 300, the 90, the 255 gallons. And interestingly enough, the one that got the most votes was this 210 gallon South and Central American tank. So I'm going to go ahead and share with you every component part in this tank, and maybe it'll give you some ideas when you go to set up your big South and Central American tank, or something you might want to tweak or change with your existing large South and Central American tank. This tank has a great assortment of fish in it, who are currently hanging out the bottom, a little bit panicked by the lights of recording. But I've got a great vieja that I've had for many years. I have an Oscar, a red shoulder, a Salvini, an albino Oscar, some silver dollars, a Nicaragua, some chocolates. There's a big pleco running around in there somewhere. There's a Firemouth, a Jack Dempsey, just a whole variety of fish in here, and I've had them all for a very long time. This is a well-established tank, and it is a tank that I would say the fish are doing well in. They're thriving. They're not just surviving, but they're actually doing well. They're very active, colored up very well, eat very well, and have all the right kind of behavior that I like to see in fish. So let's go ahead and break this tank down. We'll start at the very top of it and talk about lighting. The lighting is very, very simple. I have a beamswork light on the front of the tank, and as a filler light more towards the back is one of those Aquarium co-op full spectrum lights that they were offering for a while. Not sure if they're still doing those. I'm pretty sure Beamswork is still in business. So the lighting is just very, very straightforward. The Aquarium co-op light, I usually run it at around 10. You can run it up to 100 in increments of 10. I usually run it at 10, maybe 20. Otherwise, it can be too bright. The Beamswork just has one setting. You can buy a control box and attach it to the Beamswork light, but I don't do that. Let's talk a little bit about the filtration of this tank. I have one of my DIY sumps, and I'll put a link to a video that I did a while back. That I've got several of them. If you go to my playlist, my sump playlist, Sump the King of Filtration playlist, you'll see me talking all about my DIY sump. It's very, very simple. It's just water that drops into a tank, passes through sponges, and then it returns to the tank. Imagine just a big hang-on back filter. But in this case, it's a 40 gallon that I got from Glass Cages, and it's an acrylic sump with some baffles in it. I originally had a 29 gallon down there that I had put in some baffles, and I went to Glass Cages and picked up this acrylic version, which is working just fine. The sump is very simple. It has some of those blue bio balls that the water cascades into, and they sort of operate like you would see K1 or K2 in a moving bed where they bang together, and only the strongest bacteria survive, and then that water goes through a sort of pre-filter sponge that is wedged between a couple of the baffles. So the water has to cascade through that, and then it hits the three large sponges, and then runs over some Siporax ceramic media. And then it gets pumped back up to the tank with a Sicce 9.0 advanced, I think it's ADV Sicce 9.0, and that filter is pumping 2,500 gallons an hour. So it's moving a lot of water. I mean, you do lose a little bit with head pressure right? The water being pumped back up to the aquarium. And, you do lose a little bit with the impeller getting a little dirty over time. So it's probably not pumping 2,500, but I'm pretty sure it's over 2,000. I get a tremendous amount of surface agitation in this aquarium, which creates a lot of oxygen for these big fish. If the power ever goes out, I do have one of those Aquarium Co-op lithium battery dual outlet pumps on this aquarium, and it has 2 air stones, one on each side of the tank, and they would keep running for almost an entire day in the event of a power outage. I also have a uninterrupted power supply that I can also plug pumps into, and I also have a very large generator, like a 12,500 watt generator that I could plug into the side of the house through a 50 amp plug that I had installed. So if we did get an extended blackout, as long as I've got propane gas, I can run that generator. Usually when there's a power outage, what'll get the fish is the lack of oxygen, because you lose your surface tension breakup, right? So there's no exchange of bad gas, right? Your CO2 going out and oxygen coming in, and that can be the thing that kills the bigger fish, right? So I run those air stones with a battery power backup, and I do have some battery units that I can use that are portable, and I also have a big giant 12 DuroMax, I think it's made by DuroMax, 12,500 watt unit that I would run outside. And those are safeguards against outages, which do occur from time to time, not as much as they used to when I first moved here, but they do occur from time to time because we do get severe weather here. We get high winds, we get electrical storms, we get freezes, we get all kinds of stuff here. When I first moved to Nashville, I thought that it was far enough south so it'd be kind of Florida-like, but it's not. It can get real cold, and we've had a few weeks of snow, and we get a full 4 seasons here in Nashville, Tennessee. Another piece of the filtration is an old Sun 704B. I've had this filter for many, many years, and maybe 10 years, and it's been running for most of those 10 years flawlessly. I have a canister playlist, and I talk about how to get canisters really tweaked and running right so that they perform quietly and properly over long periods of time. You can see that playlist. But this Sun 704B has just been a workhorse, and it's on a rubber pad in case I ever get some drips. When you remove the hoses to pull it out and work on it, the hoses do drip a little bit, and so there's a rubber pad below it to help catch some of that. Just in case the canister were to spring a leak, there is a watchdog water alarm that makes a very loud shrill that would tell me that there's some water accumulating in the rubber pad underneath the aquarium. It used to be a large Rubbermaid container that would allow that Sun canister to leak a lot of water without really damaging the stand. But I needed to create some room under the stand for a bucket of water that I'm using to help keep the sump at the proper water level. For some reason, this aquarium does experience a lot of evaporation. It might be because of the heat of the equipment. Like I think the Sicce does have, it might be 75 or 90 watts. And so there may be some heat being created that is creating a lot of evaporation. So I have an automatic top-off unit it's a unit called Duetto 2. And it was recently installed, and it's working perfectly. It's working so well that I ordered a second one to put on the 300 gallon. And I'm using a bucket right now, but in this coming year, 2026, I have an extended vacation planned, and I'm going to be adding larger water reservoirs so that the sumps can be kept at the proper level without anyone here to top them off. So it's a Duetto 2. I'll try and put links underneath the video for some of these products that I'm mentioning. The Sun does have a pre-filter on it, and that's just a piece of sponge that I cut from a little bit of extra sponge from Swiss Tropicals. When Swiss Tropicals cut sponges for you, like they did for my sump, anything that's extra, they send to you so that you can then use that. You can use it as hang-on back filter pads. You can use it, shove them in a canister. And in the case of the intake of the Sun, I just cut a square, made a hole in the middle of it, and slipped it over the intake. So it works as a pre-filter. And that lets me run that Sun 704B for almost a year between cleaning, because that pre-filter catches the gunk and it gets sort of pulverized there. I take that pre-filter off like every 2 or 3 weeks and give it a good rinse. And that pretty much takes care of it. This aquarium was originally an African cichlid aquarium, and the substrate has some aragonite mixed in for buffering. It's probably exhausted by now because it's been years, but there's aragonite gravel, there's some crushed coral, and there's a lot of river rock, both small pebbles and also these large river rock boulders. So it's a very simple, deep substrate, up to 8 or 9 inches in some parts of the aquarium. So it's a very deep substrate, a lot of beneficial bacteria, quite the bio in that substrate. I don't mess with the substrate. I give it a light vacuuming, maybe once a month. This aquarium gets a water change every few weeks. It gets a top off in between. The top off not so much anymore because I've got that auto top off. I fill up the auto top off bucket, and I don't really go real deep when I vacuum, so I'm not disturbing the good bacteria that's growing in this deep substrate. That is my primary beneficial bacteria. And of course I've got it in the sponges, in the sump, in the media that's in the canister. But those get pulled out from time to time. The sump maybe once a year, and those sponges do get rinsed. The most stable beneficial bacteria media I have is this very, very deep substrate. I have some caves in here from a company called Unique. I think it's Unique, or maybe they just go by Underwater Galleries. And so they make these ceramic caves. They're very cool. And the Salvini and the Nicaragua like to hang out inside their caves. So that's very, very cool. And these big rocks that you see in here were from a local rock quarry that's not far from my house. And rock quarries, you can find a lot of materials at rock quarries, and this rock quarry is very cool. Very, very cool staff, very friendly. They let me buy a whole bunch of these big rocks. And I also have some wood in here. It was one giant piece of driftwood, but it wouldn't fit, so I had to cut it into 2 parts. And it was harvested from a local lake, and then dried out, left in the sun, scraped, cleaned, power washed. And it took a couple months before I felt confident to put it in the aquarium. And it's still floating. It's been over a year and it still floats. So I don't mind it up here at the top. It's kind of cool, I think. That's the internal decor. And I also have a very, very strong wave maker. And this is a wave maker made by a company called SVANUR. I'm not even sure if they're available in the US. It was sent to me as I think just as a pilot product that a European company was testing. SVANUR. If you're watching this in Europe, let me know if that's a product that's common where you are. And it pumps 3,700 Yeah, 3,700 gallons per hour. So it's on a timer, so it doesn't blow these guys around all day long. But it's a very powerful wave maker, and what it does is it helps to get the waste that might have settled on the bottom here, get it up into the water column so it can go into the sump and get absorbed by the canister filter. So very powerful. The pump that's in the sump, which comes out of one outlet up here at the top, there's one outlet facing this way. That pump is 2,500 gallons an hour. So there's a lot of, I mean, and then we got the Sun too, which is, I don't know what that's rated at, 575, maybe 575 gallons an hour. Of course, it loses with the as the media becomes clogged. It does lose some of those gallons per hour, but I think we add up to a good number of gallons per hour, certainly in that 5 to 10 times the total gallon sweet spot that I like to keep aquariums that are more heavily stocked and have more larger fish that eat a lot of food. The tank itself is it's a tank from Glass Cages here in Nashville, and they manufactured this tank. It's a custom tank, and I think the glass is about 3/4 of an inch thick. It has Euro bracing on the bottom, and it's just a battleship of a tank. The stand is also from Glass Cages, even though they have brought their stand manufacturing in-house now, so their stands are much nicer than what this is. This is kind of a traditional looking stand, and it's a drilled aquarium with what's called a Synergy Overflow Box system, and it has been it's worked flawlessly on this tank, and it has like three pipes that come down a major, of the lowest intake in the box that, takes the bulk of the water. Then you have a second one, and then you have an emergency overflow. Like if something were to become blocked, you have also a third pipe that could work as well, which I've never seen it actually run water through it. There's probably there's probably a colony of spiders living in that pipe, but because it's just, now if you had a saltwater tank and you had, let's say, starfish or sea anemones or something, they could maybe block things up a little bit and maybe create maybe get up into the box, or I don't know, but it's definitely a system that is pretty safe, and you don't have to worry about it being blocked. So there you go. It's been, and I dare say continues to be, a work in progress. One of the next things I'll be doing is replacing the artificial plants that are in here. I can't have real plants in here. These fish would destroy them. So these are from Elite Cichlids, and I received a call from them saying that they're going to be getting back into the artificial plant world, and I'm going to work out some way of getting something from them and then swap out the plants that are in here, because I've been using them a very long time, and so something fresh would be nice for this tank. The only other thing I would probably do is add a larger water container for the auto top off, and maybe drop a heater into the sump. I used to have one in the sump. Right now I just have that 1,000-watt Aqua, and it seems to be doing a pretty good job. I watch it closely as the weather gets, starts to get colder. I'll watch it, and between that Aqua heater that's being run through a heavy duty Gemco controller. The controller can handle a very high amount of wattage, and it's a 2-socket version, so I could plug two heaters into it, and it would help to make sure that the heaters don't malfunction and get too hot and overheat the tank, right? It would just shut the power off at 80 degrees. The controller's set to shut off power at 80 degrees. Normally this tank stays at around 78 degrees with the heater not even running. That's just from the heat generated by the equipment, right? But in the winter, the heater does run a bit. So it's a garage, and I've insulated the front door of the garage and the area around the door, but it can get cold. If it gets freezing outside, it can get pretty cold in here. I have a large fan that runs warm water from the warm water. I have a large fan that runs warm air from the house into the garage, and I also have a 1,000-watt. I think it's called Dr. Heat, 1,000-watt heavy-duty floor unit that I use if the weather gets freezing outside, just to keep it, relatively comfortable in here. So that's the full breakdown of this tank, and I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you got maybe a few ideas or some insight from it. And if you have any questions about this aquarium, just go ahead and ask them in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer them. I am going to be moving some of the fish that are in the 90-gallon. The larger geos will probably go in here, and possibly that large red-spotted severum. Certainly the the green tear as he puts on size, and probably the starry night will end up in this aquarium. So there'll be more livestock going into this tank. But it's been a very stable situation that I've been very, very happy with, and it's been running for several years now, and with these same fish. So I'm really happy with it. So there you go. Any questions, ask me below. I'll be happy to tackle them. If I don't get to all of them, I'm sorry. Sometimes I get distracted. My video output recently has been a little down. My schedule has changed recently with my grandpa duties, because my oldest granddaughter doesn't take naps anymore. So instead of putting her down for a nap and editing videos, we're playing Hungry Hungry Hippos. So there goes my editing time. At any rate, there you go. Thank you so much for watching. You're the best. I appreciate you. And I'll see you at the next one. Bye-bye.